when you have aggression, that's considered masculinity. When you're soft-spoken, you listen well, you carry yourself like a lady, those are all feminine traits. You don't raise your voice, you don't have like a, that deep man in your voice. That's femininity. And it's so many things. Like if you have,
is drinking out of solo cups feminine? No.
I mean, you are giving me a little bit.
Right, Tam? Is that not
feminine?
Carrie, I'm
a lady.
I'm sure there's no guy in the audience who cares about that cup. Do you think that women are selective with their femininity? Like, do you think that women give femininity just to only certain men and not necessarily to all men? And if that's the case, what type of man and why? Because men say, well, if you're feminine, you should be that way to everybody.
What you mean if you feminine? Like it's women. So do women pick and choose when they're feminine or not?
That's what's been happening.
What we're saying?
That's what's been happening. So we
but even if I wear tennis shoes and a t-shirt and I'm not feminine.
Okay, so basically, I always think my question. So what happens is there are some women, and I've heard this myself. They'll say, well, I'm feminine too when I need to be, or to a certain person, they may have femininity to a certain person. But the question that guys have is, or the statement that they made is, how are you feminine? Like it shouldn't be a selective femininity. You're either feminine or you're not feminine.
I agree. Yeah, that's what I agree.
I definitely agree with that. Like that should be something that should be an off and on switch with.
Right.
that should be something
conditional femininity. Thank you, Dr. Steele.
That should be something that women should have and should try to maintain. It should be something that turns on and off with certain men. But let's be honest, you got some women that'll do it and also be submissive to a certain caliber of men. The men that are probably the ones that got the bag, whatever the bag is, whatever that bag looks like to that man or to that woman, and they feel like, oh, I could do it for that person, but I'm not gonna turn it on.
But that doesn't come off genuine, does it?
No. That's right. It should be an off and on switch to a woman's femininity. Like that should be something that you should have in you that you can't just turn off.
Y'all see my face. I think
I have a video that I'm going to ask you about this in a second, but go ahead.
I think it's a little different just in terms of, yes, if you're I think there are some women that are way more feminine than others. I think that's, like some women, each woman can be different on the scale of femininity. But I also think that you can grow to become more feminine depending on your partner. So it's kind of like, you teach people how you want to be treated, and also you have certain expectations. So if there's a man that you have, sometimes he may say, I don't like the fact that you wear pants, right? Or something like that. And then because you care and want to be in that relationship and you take what he says into consideration, you may start wearing more dresses, more, skirts and stuff like that. So sometimes you will adjust to the person that you're with, not that you're trying to become somebody new, but it's about compromising in a relationship and wanting to do those things that your partner likes.
But does that mean that what you dressed like before wasn't feminine?
It may not be to the level of femininity that he appreciates.
To that person.
Yeah.
Okay. But like maybe it could be appreciative to society. Because that's my thing. Like, so then at this point, my question is like, what are we defining as femininity?
That was my question. You just went out my mouth, Maya, because that's what I was saying. I'm like, what are you defining as femininity?
So let me give you an example, because there's charts that have different examples of femininity and masculinity. Let me just say this. When you have aggression, that's considered masculinity. When you're soft-spoken, you listen well, you carry yourself like a lady, those are all feminine traits. You don't raise your voice, you don't have like a, that deep man in your voice. femininity. And it's so many things. Like if you have,
Is drinking out of solo cups feminine? No.
I mean, you are giving me a little bit.
Right, Tam? Is that not feminine?
You need a
You
glass.
know, Karen,
I'm a lady.
I'm sure there's no guy in the audience who cares about that cup. But it's just how you carry yourself. There's certain things that you do that give off masculine energy and feminine energy. And Mistaken and I spoke about this before. I can't remember if it was on the show, but I also think that when you grow up, you may have grown up where you had to be a little bit more, protective of yourself. For example, if I live somewhere like New York, you're raised to know that these streets can be a little cruel, and you have to make sure you get from point A to point B safely. And that may mean having a barrier up in watching yourself and understand that you have to protect yourself by any means necessary, and that may come with some masculine energy.
I got a question to that, Shantae, especially with Mistaken being from New York. So we get an overall perspective of men, how they feel about women being masculine. But in New York, so many women, like, that's just kind of their thing, and it's not frowned upon in New York. So
it's their norm.
Yeah, so do men feel like in New York when they're dating women and she has that that masculine energy, do they feel like that's a sign of her not being feminine or her masculinity?
There's some men who like that. I know men in the Southern, they love that New York woman.
I know, but I'm speaking specifically for like just people in New York. Like, do they have an issue with the woman having kind of like that masculine energy? I don't think to me, it doesn't seem like that's an issue there, how it would normally be somewhere else.
But they understand the environment. I think the men there understand the environment. They understand the necessity.
A lot of times women aren't just walking around in New York like, like that.
But you can get it in New York.
That's what I was going to say. It depends on the situation. Like I would say I definitely have friends where, like, when we're talking about the scale of masculinity and femininity, that I know, like in the South, like me and Shantae, we talked about this. She puts me on that scale of more masculine. Right, but
he's working on it.
I'm in my environment around friends and stuff that I grew up around, I would be considered much more feminine. And so I think it all depends on the man in terms of what level or what scale of masculine or feminine that he wants. Because a lot of times, and this is just my experience, I know I can't speak for all men in New York, but like I think was it Congo just said, like, they want a woman that's gonna ride or die. So is a certain like energy that comes along with that. Like, so if I see my man in a situation or whatever, and he gets into a fight, I think on the feminine side, you're like, oh, somebody help, let me call 911. And like if my man is on and popping, I'm gonna get me a bottle. I'm gonna get somebody getting bust upside the head. Like, and that's just gonna be a natural reaction.
I think that should be a natural reaction for any woman.
That's Mama Bear. I call it Mama Bear because everybody has I think that God puts a little bit of masculinity in women. It's natural to want to protect. It's a protective mechanism.
So who else is going to send their food back when the order is wrong? They like that masculine part of us, because we don't tell the waitress, excuse me, miss, his food is cold. Like, I don't think
I ain't sending nothing back.
Not doing that.
But see, that my thing is, even with that, I feel like that's me being a woman. Like, I'm gonna make sure you're taken care of. Like, we're not gonna just have whatever they bring to us because you as a man think that's okay. Me as a woman, regardless if I am very firm with that waitress or the waiter and telling them, like, this order is wrong, I would like for you to bring us the correct order out correctly. Like,
but that, you can ask that in a nice way. I'm sorry.
It's the one that
can be fine.
That's
Yeah,
why
no
I say
one
I'm
is saying
sorry, but it's
no one is
cold.
saying be rude, but yeah,
Right, be
definitely.
rude and
But
get your
being
food
like, yo,
spitting.
her food is cold, and mostly she's not the
Yeah.
cook, so she, it's no need to
Be
go down
rude and get your
her
food
throat.
Yeah,
spitting.
no, you still need to be respectable, but I've been on dates with men that's like, I didn't really order this, or that's not the drink that I asked for. And they'll just be like, oh, it's okay, it's fine, I'll drink. And I'm like, no,
No, you should
excuse
say
me,
fine.
this isn't what he ordered. He specifically asked for this. Thank you. It's we friendly. That's that friendly. That's a part of being feminine and friendly.
Yeah.
But you know what, Maya? Just because I really wanted to know some traits, I looked it up. I
Okay.
want to know some feminine traits because I think it's very important that we define this. Because
I
as
agree.
Mistaken
Go for
I
said,
it.
agree.
I'm excited.
I agree. It's different
so
environments, different stuff. Yeah,
so
let's.
traits
I want to know.
such as nurturance, sensitivity, sweetness, supportiveness, gentleness, warmth, passivity, cooperativeness, expressiveness, modesty, humility, empathy, affection, tenderness, and being emotional, kind, helpful, devoted, and understanding have been cited as stereotypical or attributes of femininity.
Sounds
Okay.
like a woman.